Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters, the Solopreneur Path. What's a solopreneur? Basically a sole proprietor, basically a sole worker in a particular business. Basically, you have a business, you don't have any employees, you doing all the work yourself. Now, depending on what you're doing, how it's seen, either, some people say, well, you just own a job. Okay, you own the job then. Or, well, it's a little bit harder to have a whole system by yourself. But, with AI, and depending on what you're doing, maybe you can. I don't know. I haven't used AI yet. I'm one of those, I'll be a holdout. Rom got that control thing. But the solopreneur path, I'm going to tell you what, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Now, how you set up your business is up to you. Some people, they'll just get that basic license and they'll be a technical sole proprietor. Now, the only thing with that is your business money and your personal finances are linked together. So you basically just paying tax out of all of that. Now, it's different with the LLC. So that's more separate. A little bit better protection. A little bit better protection. But it depends. And I would just say how you set up your business. It depends on your jurisdiction and what works best for you. You might want to talk to a tax consultant about that, professional tax consultant. But that out the way, however you set it up, you're the sole employee. You're the sole worker. You're doing all the services. And I'm going to tell you what, that may not be a bad thing, because something that, with all the political silliness going on, you're still getting people laid off. You're still getting people laid off. And indeed, that's why I would always recommend, even if you have a well-paying job, it could be making six figures, work on something on the side. Because you got a lot of people who were making some money, a lot of money, and all of a sudden they couldn't do it. They couldn't do, they were laid off and they were just in trouble. Have something on the side no matter what. Indeed, depending on the situation, it might not be a bad thing to have that position, that job, that service, where you're the sole employee. It might not be that way. And you might need to anyway with everything happening. But I'm going to tell you what, it's an interesting path because I can say I haven't really had any employees. Now I do, there's things I'll do where I will pay someone else for their services, but they're not technically an employee. You're just paying them for a particular service. And depending on the situation, depending on what it is, you can write it off. But, it's an interesting path. It's a powerful path. It can be a lonely path because you're doing everything yourself. And you got to really have, I would say you have to have a certain discipline. Because when you're not working for somebody else, when you're totally responsible for the money that you go in, it can be tough. You can't have any excuses. You're going to have to get out there. You're going to have to make those business contacts to keep your services going, or say you're making a product or something. You got to keep them going. Shoot, you need to go. You the one. You got to go out to the vending shows. You're that solopreneur now. Maybe you can get somebody, friend or something that can help you out. And, maybe you give them something. But you got to go to stuff and set it up yourself, and then totally responsible for the sales. You got to take care of, in most cases, you got to take care of, like keeping the payments organized, your services, everything. Like one of the things I do, I got an envelope for if I'm getting a supply, okay, receipts go there, getting some equipment, the receipts go there and everything. But it's, I'm going to tell you what, though. It can be very lucrative because you're your own boss. You're your own boss. Now, understand, some people will get into that and feel like, oh, yeah, I can just do what I want. I'm my own boss. Yeah, you can. But if you want to make money, you got to be disciplined in what you do. And yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, it can be very satisfying. Because I know with myself personally, well, I got problems working with people. Or for people. I can work with people, but for people. Because I'm quite, in those styles and jobs, I've had everything from a lot of autonomy to some micromanagers. And usually, you probably know more than the manager does anyway. And sometimes they let their personal stuff get in the way. So if they got something personal against you. But I'm going to tell you what. It's a tough path. And it is a tough path. It's a lucrative path. It's a satisfying. But it's still going to be tough. It's not just easy. Because you're going to have to find, like, let me use the example of vending. Typically, yes, you making some contacts, people telling you about some stuff, but then you got to reach out. You got to set up. You got to bring that table in, set it up, all of that, everything. If you vending, you got to sit there and you got to make that money. Let me just talk about just making the money in general. It's just a different thing when you don't know if you're going to get money. It's a whole different attitude. Like if you go to a regular job, let's just be real. You can show up. You're going to get paid as long as you show up. Because let's be real, a lot of people on some jobs, office jobs, whatever, and they're not doing work every single second. They might be sitting around talking about something, or surfing the internet, something like that, be on their phones and everything. Some people be working in on their phones. That's the interesting thing. But when you're that solopreneur, yeah, you can do all that. You can talk, but you're not bringing in any money. So it's like you got to be responsible for that. And, it's getting into like the vending. Like one of the things with vending and making that money, you got to have that patience. And not just vending, but I'm using that as an example. Like I remember I had someone, they were supposed to be helping me out at a vending show. And they were like, nobody was coming, nobody was buying anything at first. And the man was getting upset. There's a buddy of mine. He was getting upset. He was like, and I was like looking at him. I was like, dude, you've never done this before. I've done hundreds of these shows before this one. Sometimes the money won't come until the last minute. Now, he actually left early. It's funny, as soon as he left, the money was flowing. But that's something else with vending. You got to have a certain attitude. That's a whole show in itself. But as a solopreneur in general, you are responsible. You got to keep that attitude up. You got to keep going. You got to hustle for that money. And it's a tough life, but it's actually worth it. It's nothing like the feeling of getting that first payment or getting a payment, period. Or like if you're doing solopreneur and you're doing vending, that first sale. It's nothing like that first sale. But it's you know what? I would still recommend it. Yeah, there's some tough stuff, but if you have a skill or something you can do, and like I say, you can do it on the side, I highly recommend just starting off that way. And indeed, many major businesses, they started out that way because, okay, you might start off as a solopreneur. Let's just say you start off as a sole proprietor, not an LLC, a sole proprietor. But as you grow, you can turn it into an LLC. As you grow, maybe a major corporation. And that one person operation could be a business with 100 people. You can grow it. Or you can just stay that solopreneur and stuff. You're making your money, pay your taxes and all of that. Just keep it moving. But I'm going to tell you what, it's a tough path, but it's a worthwhile path because you have control over your life. So I just wanted to share that. And, if you want that, just stick with it. Stick with it. I want you to rise with it, all right? So anyway, that's all I have for now. You know the deal. Let's go make that money.